The demon has to have humans to operate.
You carried a lot of demons around, didn't you? Tell me about some of those demons.
Then he'd kick me and I'd fly up in the air. He'd catch me in the air and have his belt out and just start whipping me.
Can a person become a Christian but still have demons in them?
I felt she was a witch, and I think she was, from the Catholic religion, believe it or not.
Daniel, you there with me, buddy?
I sure am.
Thanks for being here. Daniel, you were abused as a boy. You said to me that your father used to beat you and your sister to the point of death.
Almost. Just short of it.
Just short of the point. I mean, that's a drastic statement. He was a firefighter. You said he used a belt, and he grabbed you by your ears?
Yep.
Then what would happen? What was he doing?
He'd bash my head up against the wall. If I'd hit a stud, I would have been dead. And then I just would collapse. Then he'd kick me and I'd fly up in the air. He'd catch me in the air and have his belt out and just start whipping me. And it was pretty traumatic. The sad thing was the other 8 kids thought me and my older sister were bad kids. We weren't. We were trying to be the best kids we could be.
Wow. How many kids were in your family?
10 altogether. They wanted 12, so there'd be 12 apostles, but there was only 10.
You had 10 kids in your family. They must have been Catholic. I'm making a joke. Were they Catholic? They were Catholic.
They were not just Catholic, but they were trying to be the best Catholics on the face of the earth.
Okay, so your dad was trying to be the best Catholic by beating the fire out of you to the point of death. So let's find out what your Catholic mother was doing. Where was she when your dad was beating you up?
She basically triggered him to do it. And the reason I got beat was because she used to shove me around with her own abuse because she was abused. And so she didn't know anything else. And so she goes, I'm going to get back at him, and would talk in his ear all month until he finally exploded. And it wasn't the real him. It was something else. But he finally would blow up like a volcano, and that'd be what we got.
Yeah. Now, your dad was in World War II. He was a vet. And my heart goes out to vets, Daniel. These guys, they come back and they're a mess. I'm not going to let that be an excuse, but I do want to put a footnote on that. Your mother, she was abused. What was going on with that?
I found out, I knew she was abused because her mother was one of the hardest people to ever get along with. I felt she was a witch, and I think she was, from the Catholic religion, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And her father, when she was developing, and my mother was, by any measurement from any man, would be just a dreamboat. But as she was developing, her father abused her and passed her around his buddies.
Well, wait a minute, hold it. As she became a teenager, not a little girl, but
right,
13,
as she developed.
As she developed, her father invaded her and passed her around. Okay.
Yep.
And of course, she grew up, had kids, and so no wonder that she was at least condoning what your dad was doing. So you grew up, and this had to affect you. You had to be carrying a lot of stuff with you, okay? Yeah, and I want to get into the world of darkness and light, okay? I don't want to talk about feelings. I don't want to talk about psyche. I don't want to talk about, bringing somebody around to, remembering their childhood and stuff. There might be a place for that. Tonight, I want to stay spiritual with it. I want to do what Jesus did. He nipped it at the bud, and I know you do too. That's why I'm talking to you. You carried a lot of demons around, didn't you? Tell me about some of those demons.
Well, the very first of all, when it happened, I felt totally dejected. And I had to come to grips with all these so-called feelings, because they weren't feelings. They were actually entities that got to invade when I got invaded without my permission. I had no idea this was coming. I didn't deserve it, in my opinion.
Okay, well, let me just put a pause on that so we can dissect this. I think what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that when there's trauma, when you were beat and you had all this abuse going on, that opens a door for all these demons to come in. It's not your fault. You didn't have anything to do with it. Is that correct? Trauma.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, and I can relate to that. I've experienced that, and especially when you're a little boy, a little child, Daniel, you don't know what's going on, and all of a sudden your door opens and all these demons flood in, and you're packing around a bunch of devils and not even knowing it as a child. Go ahead.
The number one thing that I've identified, it happens to every one of us when this happens, is that you go through this abandonment. And that's the number one. Everybody worries about fear and anger and all these other weird things that are all there. But the abandonment thing is the one that really takes its toll, because if he can get us to feel we don't have a father, and I mean one in heaven or on earth, we don't have a family that's going to protect us. We don't even know who these people are. We're already lost. We're way lost. We're way lost. And then all the other feelings, dejection, depression, anger, revenge, it goes on and on and on. They all come in at the same time, and they work together to keep that there.
Yeah. So you see, people are carrying demons around with them, Christians, and they think that because they went to the altar and they gave their life to Christ, now they're demon free. Let's touch on that. When I gave my life to the Lord, I went through a period of really kind of a cleansing, and I really did have a cleansing. I had a renewed mind. I experienced that. But you know what, Daniel? Man, I went back to the same, at least I was tempted with the same old stuff. Tell me about that. Tell me about, first of all, can a person become a Christian but still have demons in them?
Absolutely. The human being is a triune person, like God's a triune person. That's really a trip, because God made us in his image. But we got basically it's spirit, soul, and body. So the spirit is where God breathed into us, and everything he meant for us to have, all the right feelings, all the good stuff is in our spirit. And it's sealed till the day of Jesus Christ. Everything else is open game. So if we hadn't handed over certain areas of our life, because God doesn't clean us all up at one time when we're saved. There's no saying, get them on the boat first, and then we'll clean them as we go. Okay. And that's kind of how God does it for most of us. I don't know anybody else that's different, but that's basically the process. And so no matter what church you came to, well, you got dirt in your closets. Well, let's go do some spring cleaning. Well, what's that dirt? That's the issue. What is that dirt?
Yeah. So this dirt is demons, the dirty demons. I was telling people earlier, I'm from Hollywood, made a lot of movies. This is a bill of goods that's been sold to people that a Christian cannot be demon possessed, because when you see The Exorcist and, The Omen and all that, you see a body that's taken over by a demon. A Christian can be demon possessed, meaning you're possessed by demons, but it doesn't mean you're taken over. You still have the mind of Christ. You still struggle in the flesh, but they're still in there. And I think a lot of the misconception is, well, I'm a Christian. I can only have them sit on my shoulder or, next to my hip down there, but they can't be inside of me. Well, Daniel, if the body is God's holy temple and God lives in this temple, can demons also be in the temple too?
Well, let's just talk about church, which I'm not a fan of, but what we call church today. Does the devil go to church every day?
Yeah.
That's the number one place he goes to. So can they be in us? They are in us. Until the problem is they invaded us without us knowing, usually before our age of reason. So right. if they're there, and we don't even know they're there, we're operating through this lens that isn't the lens God gave us, or many lenses actually.
Right.
And we need to do business. We need to, what I see in Christianity today is everybody wants someone to fix them. God says, look, you fix yourself and then you go fix the world.
The analogy you made is correct, that when the first demon Jesus encountered was in the church, other than dealing with Satan 40 days in the desert. He encountered, I think it was Capernaum. So our body is the church, is the temple. You have a demon there. You have, first of all, it's God's temple. A demon comes and invades it, right? So we must understand that things happen to us as a child, and we didn't even know it. And through this trauma, a door opened, demons came in. Let's say there's a young girl out there listening, a woman, and she was invaded. She was molested as a young girl, and she's been struggling all these years, thinking, "Man, I don't know how to shake this." She's got these demons still in there, and yet you got every preacher on the earth saying, "Oh no, you're fine, child. You were just saved, and you just need to pray." And meanwhile, this poor girl's struggling. Daniel,
I was part of a deliverance church, and the pastor who is the grand slayer. We get up there and start naming demons off. And anyway, they go demon hunting. I found that to be interesting. But we have to name them. So that's why they're going hunting. So we have to name them. And God showed me a way to find a bunch of them real fast without them even knowing what's happening. So that is by actually going back to your number one greatest pain at the earliest age. And it usually people that say, I don't even have one. Well, once you get in that place with the Holy Spirit, I've never seen him not reveal it. That's the first one. So the second one is that they made a deal with us. They made a contract with us. They made plans for us. We didn't know they did. But by us not even knowing, we acquiesced to those plans and basically signed by ignorance. In other words, if someone puts a 5G meter on your house and you didn't tell them to take it off your house, you made an agreement with them, even though you didn't even know it was there. So in that sense, we have to know that we got to do business and take total responsibility for our lives that God has put us in charge of, okay? Third one is once we identify them and tell them to break plans with their lives, and we tear up all contracts, we need to tell them to leave, and we got to tell them to leave now. The now is because they'll say, oh, who is he talking to? He's not talking to me, he's talking to you. No, he's talking to you. And they play this demon game. So if you don't tell them to leave right away by their name, then they play hide and go seek. The fourth one is we need to forgive those the person that brought it into us, usually our parents or some person of authority or something like that. And we need to forgive them. They don't have to tell them, they don't even have to be alive, but we have to forgive them, because when we ask God for forgiveness, he forgives us. It's over with. And you go back and repeat it. He goes, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, because he's forgotten it. And we like to beat ourselves to death for that, which is another demon, self-hatred at different levels. So the sixth one is my favorite. It's a prayer out of Revelation. Is I asked Jesus to take them by the collar. I asked Jesus to bring them to the gateposts of hell, to be tied up there and to wait their final judgment at the end of times, to be thrown in the lake of fire. I love that. Okay, that's what Jesus did. Okay, so my father beat me with violent anger. I was a victim of anger. I was a very, very, very angry kid. And so that was the contract on me, is go out and cause all kinds of anger, have tantrums, get crazy, just be angry, And so that's the contract. Now, I didn't know I had a contract. I didn't even know there was a contract on me. It's kind of like the mob. There's a contract on, but it's not to kill you. It's to cause you to do all kinds of wicked things. Okay.
Now, the contract is something that a demon is contracted out to do to you, or is it a contract you've made with this demon?
I never made the contract, but see, this is what people don't understand. Just because you didn't know they were there doesn't mean you're not responsible for them. And just by that omission, in other words, omission of knowing what the law is not going to get you off the hook with a cop or the court system. So not knowing that they're there is not good enough,
Right.
So that's why this self-examination, which I see very little in the church today, and repentance of all the stuff going on right now. I can't listen to anything anymore. I just want to hear God, that as a believer, I'm not just going to let the demon go into the ether. The demon has to have humans to operate. They have to get inside us so they can operate. By insulting each other, by getting angry, whatever we do to each other, that's not good. Okay. So that's what I want to make sure is, if I get rid of a demon, they're going to get in someone else or back into me if I don't do my work right. I know how to do the work right. They're not coming back at me, but they can get into someone else. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going to bind them.
Okay, you're going to bind them and you're going to cast them back into the pits of hell?
I'm not casting them in the pits of hell, because Jesus didn't even cast them there yet. He's got them tied up waiting for the eternal judgment.
Okay, so you're binding them.
The two keys of the kingdom of heaven is what Jesus gave us to operate. One is binding, one is loosening. You can bind bad things. You can bind a broken heart, which is a good thing to do. That can be used both ways. But binding is something that God told us to do.
I hope I portrayed enough to see, it's evil. And I'll be quite frank. I don't like Fauci. I don't like what he talks about. He's flip-flop Fauci. I'll just call him what it is. He's been back and forth with a lot of stuff. With what you're playing in The Last Evangelist, I think it really paints a picture of where we're headed. I think some of the stuff that you portray in that particular series is absolutely some of the stuff we're going to see in the near future.
All right. If you're interested in getting involved in Last Evangelist, our new TV series, which is coming out the first of the year, go to lastevangelist.com. You can sign the newsletter. You can even donate. And we do need your help. We really do. You can see on there the things you can do. You can special thanks. You can donate, get T-shirts, hats. You can come walk the red carpet. Hey, you can be in the movie. You can be associate producer. You could even be an executive producer. This is how we're bringing this truth to you guys. I'm not going to the studio. God said, go to my people. That's what I'm doing. Go to lastevangelist.com or text the word evangelist to 41444, or you can make that call to 844-806-0006.
In these last days, people will worship false gods. As the Antichrist arises, Christians will be persecuted. David Heavener Investigates is proud to bring you End Times Investigations, a new DVD series containing over 8 hours of interviews, commentaries, and teaching on Illuminati and the New World Order, Satanism, miracles and healings, the Antichrist, and one world religion.
Hi, I'm David Heavener, and I'm proud to bring you this brand new DVD collection, End Times Investigations.
David reveals how the media is working hand in hand with the Antichrist system. Order now and receive this special DVD collection. Text bonus to 41444 or davidheavener.tv/order. Call toll free 844-806-0006. Text bonus to 41444 or davidheavener.tv/order. Call toll free 844-806-0006.